Basically, it's a hijack situation. People say crime is down here. It's not down. People are just not dying from being shot.
By now, Abdul Saleh is shot but still alive. In this exclusive video obtained by Eyewitness News, you see Abdul's brother desperately trying to get the suspected gunman off Abdul. It all went down here in the East Village Saturday evening.
What I heard was a pop, pop, pop. What I saw was my friend dying on the corner.
In front of Abdul's family-owned business, Sal's Deli, at Avenue B and 13th Street. It's where I met him nearly 1 year to the day. As the city was looking to add more panic buttons in bodegas, this spot didn't have one.
Always something happened and nobody really cared.
At the time, Abdul told me he was worried about violence in delis that he'd seen on social media.
People got shot, killed, sometimes got robbed, and the police never responds quick. They always come like 3-4 hours late.
For you?
For us, yeah, sometimes it happens.
Police say this started inside the deli. Witnesses say video shows Abdul and the 28-year-old man arguing. It spilled outside where Abdul was shot in the stomach.
He was whispering things to his brother, praying and telling him he's going to be okay, and I'm telling him he's going to be okay.
He will help anybody. He will give their shirts. If he had to give his shirt off his back to some person, he would do that.
Friends say Abdul had just come back from Yemen, where his family lives.
He FaceTimed his daughter and showed her my dog.
Just yesterday.
About a half an hour before it happened.
The man police believe pulled the trigger was hit with the ricochet. He stumbled away and collapsed and was taken to the hospital, as this very tight-knit community remembers a man who had a heart of gold.
Even when I was younger and I would go in hungry, didn't have money, and they would say, "Don't worry, tell your father to just pay me back."
And Abdul not only worked here, he lived here with his family, who everybody considers the heart and soul of this community. This time last year, Abdul told me his greatest concern was shoplifting. It's not clear what sparked this violence. In just about an hour, reps from the United Bodegas America will gather here to speak about this incident. They're pointing out that to date, they've installed 400 panic buttons in businesses across the city. For now, we're live in the East Village.
We know that when Mamdani was elected, we already knew that it was going to be a rapid, accelerated downfall of crime was going to increase. When crime increases, businesses are not going to last. People will not go out. So the criminal element is not stupid. They are really, really aware that people are not going to shop. People are not going to sell. Basically, it's a hijack situation. It's happening in Baltimore. People say crime is down here. It's not down. People are just not dying from being shot. This gentleman is 28 years old from Yemen. He actually went to Yemen for a couple of months, recently returned because his 2 children are in Yemen. So now there are 2 children who are fatherless. The United Bodegas of America, the union, which had a press conference last year, had 1 block away from his bodega, had a press conference to really motivate the elected officials to invest in panic buttons that could directly connect to the police department. And the president shared that in the recent news. This just happened Saturday. We're talking about 48 hours ago, 11:30 at night, and probably closing the bodega, and it was his brother. And so they had this press conference to really garner that support that you would want for business, for people providing for themselves, and also providing a service to the community. That's out the window with socialism. That is not part of the socialism plan. Also, a 16-year-old was killed the Friday before. 16-year-old Marquise Byfield was killed, 16 years old. And so now Mamdani did address the parent. Of course, the usual, not sorry, we're going to do something, sorry we didn't, and now it's next. That's pretty much it. That's what's happening.
But Blanca, you said something. Nicole, I want to ask you this, but Blanca, you said, and you keep hearing the crime is down, but it really isn't. Let me give you some stats from New York City. So this is according to the site called vitalcitynewyorkcity.org. All right, so all major crimes from 2019 to 2025, there has been an increase, or a plus 27.3%. So almost 30% increase over that period of time in all major crimes. The one that is down, the only one that, well, two of them are down from that same time period, 2019 to 2025, is murder and shootings. However, rape, felony assault, robbery, burglary, grand larceny, and grand vehicles, they are all up double, even triple digits, particularly grand larceny of motor vehicles. This is my question. We again saying or hearing that crime is down. What I sure about, because many of these crimes are tied to people being shot. They may be murdered or they may have serious injuries. I don't know if these stats are teasing out that factor. So I think this is part of it. They're not teasing it out, or they are teasing it out to make it look as if they're separate incidents. But Nicole, if we keep hearing that crime is down, how do we keep getting so many people, innocent people, shot and dying? How are they not showing up in the numbers?
Well, numbers game. I can make a statistic that proves anything. That's the beautiful thing about, to quantify things if you're not going to be honest. And honest depends on which side of the debate of defunding the police you sit on. I understood the bodega owners were sick of being robbed, sick of being threatened, sick of being assaulted. And so their union spoke up and said, we need this emergency panic button. Well, what are they going to send? A social worker? Somebody to come over and talk this person out of, the head with a bat for, and scratch off cards. I mean, a business owner's problem. It's not the bat that does the bashing. It's the heart of the man that does the dirty deed. And until you address that, we're going to have crime. People say, across the United States. Absolutely. In lots of places, murder is down, but call Chicago, where people are dropping dead. There were people killed in Chicago over the weekend than there has been in this conflict in Iran. I mean, this is here, and people don't bat an eye because it's expected. The reason why Zohran the moron had nothing to say significant about a 16-year-old being gunned down in his own city is because for them, they're expendable. Thoughts and prayers. Move on to the next topic. That is how they live their lives. The disregard for human life, Blanca, you are right. It starts in the womb. Yeah. And if life has no value in the womb, when does life become valuable? When you're 7, maybe 14, 21, 40? When does life become valuable if you're a lunatic Democrat? Can I tell you it never does? Because you would not be running like a lunatic into a Hilton hotel thinking that you're going to speed past the Secret Service and Metro Police to go into a ballroom and take a shot at the president of the United States. Now, people will say that's, he may be mental illness. I'm just going to say he's dumb. He's not stupid, but he's definitely dumb. You're not that fast. And yes, he took off like a bullet, except for he could not outrun the people who were there to protect. So when we see these people talking about our crime statistics, they have been heavily manipulated. That's been proven time and time again. But what we really see on the ground is that it's not better. I mean, I myself, victim of a shed robbery. This is unheard of in my neighborhood. And Shelly will tell you, I was like, what in the world is going on in this world if you're going to break into my shed and steal my Ryobi? And I was angry for weeks. But I got over it because, it could have been worse. It could have been something more significant to me. But you see this little tiny petty crime that doesn't get punished. And that little tiny petty crime becomes a bigger and better crime. This is why it's important that we nip it in the bud when it's small. But we'll never get there if they keep playing with these numbers like this.
But many of these serious crimes, the robberies, the murders, the shootings, the grand larcenies, many of them are happening on the regular in mainly blue cities. Heavily blue cities and areas. And yet we cannot get our politicians, our elected officials. They want to keep coddling the criminal.
There are certain crimes when it's committed by a young teenager or a young person. It's a crime of convenience. Do you know what I mean? Like they want a bike, impulse control. They jump on the bike and ride the bike. But that's not the kind of crime I'm talking about, little crime. I'm talking about when you use force to take something from someone else that other person worked hard for. That's the line. That's the we need to draw and say, okay, you're not getting enough of what this culture is supposed to be like. So you need an adult-sized timeout. We're going to sit you down. Not probation, not an ankle bracelet, not wraparound services that somebody's, think tank is $1 billion a year. None of that. Sometimes they just need to sit and contemplate and in very dangerous places so they can make an executive decision. How do I want my life to go? Do I want to be like this butt pirate that's sharing a cell with the guy next door? Or do I want to be a free man? And what is it going to take to get me free? I think those are hard questions, but we don't allow our children to make those or to have those conversations anymore. It's everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's good to go. No matter what you do, we're going to protect you. And that is not the way it should be.
What is different about maybe what you do with your children that maybe other parents are not doing with their young children?
Well, let's start with what the structure is. There's a mom and dad in the home.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mom and a dad in the home. There isn't an adult in the home. It's a role. When you're a parent, that's not a job. I call it, it's not hard work to be a good parent. It's heart work. It's a very hard work. So first there's a mom and dad. That's the first thing. There was a mom and dad when I grew up, and a mom and dad when my mom grew up. And there was a mom and dad when my grandfather was born in 1914, and he lived to be 99. So imagine that. That's where we start. A lot of people don't want to hear that. Oh, well, wait a moment. I was adopted. So when people say, but my mom and dad both, one is, listen, I'm a product of my dad killing my mother when I was 3 and I was adopted. Parents came into my life. I came into theirs, and they were loving and caring. So people can't say to me, well, that's not everybody. Yeah, I had a terrible dad, and he had to go to prison. 6 years for murder in El Salvador. Can you imagine? 6 years for murder. 6. So the first thing is the family was caring. They modeled, they infused in me. Now I'm the parent. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty childhood. And then now I have 3 sons. We instill in them, there is a respect, not a submission, not a, bow down, not you're the child, I'm the parent. There is a respect for adults. That, I think, Shelley and Nicole, you can agree. Children are not being taught there's a respect for that adult. And that adult so the respect to the adult, mutual respect, but also that adult needs to raise that child. Raising in respect.
What do we do with the young people, particularly who are here now committing these crimes? The politicians will tell us, oh, they need the wraparound services. They need this program. The judges will say, oh, no bail. They don't have to go to jail. They don't, let's just put a detention center and put an ankle bracelet on. It doesn't work. Then you have the advocacy groups, want to only feel compassion for them. What do we do now with these hardened young people who are committing what we would call adult crimes, if you will? I say adult crimes do the adult time. What about you, Nicole? Am I wrong? I mean, am I being...
No, you're not being too heartless. Listen, not everybody's going to make the trip. Let's just call it what it is. That's biblical. Not everybody going to make the trip. There are some people, unfortunately, because of the decisions that they've made in their lives, it's going to impact them. If you kill another human being, if you maim another human being, you are not fit for our civilized society. You're simply not. So we're going to have to remove you from society. Whether you're 18 or 46, if you take another person's life, you have to go. We cannot tolerate you under any circumstances. And that's not being heartless and cruel to the criminal. That's saving the rest of society, which should be the goal of criminal justice. It should be protecting society. But today's criminal justice is about giving the criminal more justice than they deserve. Now, before children get to that point, we've seen these all over the place. And let me tell you what they did when I was a kid. Your parents signed you up for this summer work program. You didn't know nothing about it. You got out of school. You thought it's going to be the summer of my life. I'm going to swim. I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to ride my bike. And your parent announced to you, no, tomorrow you're going to be a camp counselor. Get some sleep tonight because them little children are going to run you ragged. And you made a little pocket change and you made really good friends and you did, become a camp, you work with works and you cut grass. Children have to have purpose. I get it, especially here in Maryland where everything is expensive. They very well may have 2 parents in the home, but those 2 parents might have 2 jobs apiece in order to keep the lights on. So what do you do then? You have a teenager without any parental guidance in the home, although they have 2 parents living in the home. What happens then? Can I tell you? Keep these kids busy. Keep up for summer work. Summer work is a good thing. Work is great for the human mind. It gives you something, some sense of purpose, a sense of pride.